Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Traveling with Terry. It's great to be with you this morning as I head from my home to the office and get to spend a few minutes with you this morning. Excited to chat with you a little bit about how to evaluate some of the corporate training programs that you might be using inside your company. So I saw a statistic not too long ago that kind of blew my mind, and it doesn't really surprise me after my 15 plus years of being a corporate sales trainer for companies all around the country and even internationally. I really love training and coaching and mentoring companies, especially when it comes to sales and marketing. That's really where I've made my home for the last many years, and I do love and enjoy it. But the statistic that I saw is that in the United States in 2020, or in the last couple of years, companies will spend approximately $20 billion, that's billion with a B, $20 billion per year on corporate training programs. And if you think about what kind of training programs companies use, they'll use anything from customer service to management to sales to marketing to production to various kinds of professional certifications, continuing education requirements, safety training, various kinds of human resource training. The list kind of goes on and on. There's a lot of training that we need inside of our companies, and all of it is worthy and good. The statistic that I saw broke down to the average company will spend about $1,100 per employee per year. And it kind of begs the question, what are all of these companies hoping to do or hoping to see from the training that they get? And ultimately, they're looking for change. Ultimately, they want to see the performance and the behavior of their employees change and improve in some way, which is great. And the interesting thing one of the lessons that I learned years ago, unfortunately the hard way with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, is companies would hire me, excuse me, they would be running into some various kind of sales problem. Their salespeople were having a hard time closing sales, or they were having a hard time finding good sales prospects. And so the sales manager would conclude, man, our salespeople are struggling to overcome objections or really sell the value of what we're offering. We need to get them some training on how to sell better. They would immediately default to, we need some good sales training. And that in and of itself is a problem, but that's a problem for another day, a discussion for another day. But so they would call me up, or they'd find me online and they would chat. They'd say, hey, Terry, we got this sales problem. We've got 10 salespeople that are great, but they're good, but we want them to be great. Can you help us? And so I'd listen and hear a little bit about what they were concerned and frustrated about. And I'd say, yes, I can help them. And I'd put together and devise and design a customized sales training program. And so we'd spend 3 months and 6 months, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, sometimes 6 months going through the training program and really teaching their salespeople what to do and how to do it. And you like 7 or 8 times out of 10, the results were always the same. The feedback that I would always get was, holy crap, Terry, this training was incredible. We learned a lot. The insights that you provided were really state-of-the-art and incredible and revolutionary. We loved it. And you personally are an amazing trainer. You're charismatic, you're funny, you really make it enjoyable. We love it. It's been 6 months and our sales are still the same. Our salespeople still haven't closed any sales. And there's nothing worse on the planet than to hear that kind of thing. You're an incredible trainer. The material was state-of-the-art and amazing. However, our salespeople aren't using it. We're not seeing their behavior change. We're not seeing increased sales. So we've got to cancel services. We've got to push pause. And I did this for the better part of a decade. and I would beat my head against the wall and try to figure out what the heck was going on. It must be because I'm a lousy trainer. And so I spent years reading books and attending seminars and workshops trying to figure out how to be a better trainer. Because obviously if I taught and trained things better, then they would get results, right? Well, maybe it's because, and so I improved my personal skills as a corporate trainer. Well, then I'm working on that. It must not be me. It must be the material. I need better material. So I did endless research, endless studies, researching books and studies and case studies and trying to mine the best strategies on the planet to teach people. And I got the juiciest, best stuff out there. And I'm confident, and that didn't work either. And so I was left to conclude some pretty powerful things that ultimately training by itself, and it really wasn't until I a couple of years ago when I jumped into a master's degree and I learned about organizational performance and human performance improvement that I really realized that sometimes the reason why in this example salespeople aren't closing sales has nothing to do with the knowledge gap, that they don't know how to close sales. It doesn't have, and the solution is not necessarily a training solution. Sometimes the fix and the solution has to do with the sales manager. It has to do with the compensation structure. It has to do with the sales process itself. It has nothing to do with training or educating them how to sell. It has to do with other things. So, but when you run into a performance problem with your employees, and it does make sense for a training program to be implemented, then there's actually 4 ways to evaluate whether or not a training program is working and working really well for you. And back in the 1950s, there was a really smart guy named Dr. Donald Kirkpatrick, and he developed 4 levels of evaluation to determine whether or not you've got a good training program. And I never knew about these 4 levels of evaluating a training program before. And I just recently learned about this just a couple of years ago, two and a half years ago when I started my master's degree. But as you guys know, I've recently graduated and finished up my master's degree. And over the next several weeks, I'm really interested in sharing with you some of the powerful frameworks and models that I learned that cost me tens of thousands of dollars over the last 2.5 years. I want to give those to you for free. So, and this is one of those pretty powerful models that I learned that I think every HR manager, every sales manager, every customer service manager, every business owner, and every manager of every kind who looks at their employees and says, gosh, I've got really good people and they're doing good things, but they could be better. They could be great. And we need a training program to help them. If you're going to put together a training program, then let me invite you to think about how you're going to measure and evaluate whether or not that training program is actually working for you. Okay, so at the most basic level of Dr. Donald Kirkpatrick's four-level evaluation model, the very basic level, when an employee goes through a training program, you want to measure and evaluate their response. How was the training program? Did you like it? Was it interesting? Was it entertaining and fun? Was the trainer, engaging? How did you like it? Did you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? That really is at the most basic and fundamental level. You're measuring the employee's response to the training. Was it good? Did you like it? Was it interesting? Was it fun? Was it engaging? Would you do it again? That's really all you're trying to evaluate. And the way that you evaluate that ultimately is maybe just with a simple interview or a simple survey. Did you like it or did you not like it? What did you like about it? So that's at the most fundamental level. And truthfully, truth be known, there's pretty limited value in knowing whether or not an employee liked the training or not. That's nice to know, but there's kind of limited value there. So we go up to the next level of evaluation. And that is, did you learn anything? Did you learn anything? So employees go through a training and they're taught a lot of good stuff about a lot of important things, right? And so when the training is over, oftentimes you want to test or examine, what did you learn? You were dumb before you took the training program. Now you should be really smart. because we've dumped a lot of knowledge into your brain. So what did you learn, right? Your level of understanding and knowledge has increased. So the way that you evaluate whether or not people actually learned something is through quizzes, exams, and tests. And that's pretty standard and pretty straightforward. Did you learn it? Did you not learn it? What did you learn? How did you learn it? You know, all that sort of thing. And again, it's good to evaluate and measure whether or not your employees actually learn something. There's some value there. There's some value there, no question. But that's how you evaluate that. So we go to the third level of evaluating a training program. And this is where real valuable stuff starts actually happening. The first two levels, they're good, but again, they have limited value and limited benefit for the company overall. The third level of evaluation is behavioral change. So when let's just pick on salespeople here for a minute. If you are noticing that your salespeople, for example, when they get to that stage in the sales process, that they're trying to close the sale and they're struggling to overcome some of the concerns and worries and fears and objections that a prospective customer might give to them. And historically, they have not used any sort of tactics at all to overcome those objections. And by participating in the sales training program, they're taught some techniques to use. Then the corresponding behavioral change that you would want to see is when they get to that stage in the sales process, are they now using those techniques? Have they changed their behavior? Or what they doing, is that now different? So the third level of evaluating whether or not a training program is really good or not is has the employee changed their behavior? Have they changed their habits? Have they changed their routines? Are their patterns different? Are they doing things differently now than what they were before? And that's pretty easy to measure and evaluate. You do that through, frankly, observation. You watch and monitor and observe, is this employee still doing their job kind of the same way? The same processes, the same patterns, the same routines? Or have they changed their behavior? Are they actually doing things differently now? So you measure that and evaluate that through observation, okay? Now, the fourth and final level of Donald Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of evaluation of a training program is ultimately my favorite. Now, just to make a quick commentary, that third level there about behavioral change, that's valuable because you and I as human beings, we're pretty stubborn. We're creatures of habit. And so if we're used to doing things one way for an extended period of time to try to get us to change our actions and even our attitudes and our behavior and our performance, woof, that's hard. We are creatures of habit and we don't like change in what we do very often. So that's hard stuff right there. So a training program has got some chops to it if when it's done, the behaviors of your team have changed as well. So that's good. That's, in my mind, pretty valuable way to measure and evaluate things. The fourth and final is results and outcomes. Results and outcomes. So again, going back to the example of the sales, if I notice that my sales team is not closing sales very good, and as a consequence, our sales revenue has kind of slumped or is at least plateaued and maybe stagnated a little bit, then that's the outcome and result that I'm actually looking for change to happen or the results to happen. So I'm investing tens of thousands of dollars into a sales training program and having my 10 salespeople go through it. Why? So that I can see an increase in revenue. That's it. I want to see an increase in revenue or an increase in profit margins or an increase in something. That's the business outcome and result that I'm interested in seeing. So we go through the sales training program and I'm noticing that now the salespeople, they're adopting some different techniques when it comes to closing sales. But what I'm really looking for as a manager and a leader is, okay, so the salespeople are employing these new techniques. Is that having a corresponding impact on revenue? Are we closing more sales? Are the sales of a higher quality? And is the profit margin better? Is total revenue going up? So level 4 on Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of evaluation is the business metric? Is the business metric lifting? Or am I getting the outcomes and results that I want to because of that? And in my mind, that is the highest value, the coolest, the most important thing to look at. And it's easy to measure. You measure it not by surveying the salespeople, not by observing them, but by simply just looking at your existing business reports, looking at the data, looking at your P&L, looking at your weekly sales scorecard metrics. You know, that's what you're looking at. That's how you evaluate whether or not the training program is working, is it lifting the sales numbers. So pretty powerful framework. As a manager, you and I have to realize that not all training programs are created equal. Good training programs will always start with the question at the beginning, what are we going to measure to determine if this training program is really, really a good program for us? Are we measuring business metrics? Are we measuring behavioral change? Are we measuring how much the employee is just learning? Or are we measuring how much they like it? Those are our 4 choices. Those are our 4 choices. So before you just jump into a training program and spend, $1,100 on average per employee and $20 billion a year annually across all industries in the United States, before you just jump in and write a check, be clear first and foremost what you want to measure and what you want to evaluate. Does that make sense to you? So once you're clear on that, if you're measuring whether they like it, whether they're learning something, whether they're changing their behavior, or whether a business metric is lifting and changing, be clear on that first and foremost. Then go ahead and go buy the training program. But then after the training program is over, be ready to evaluate and measure and track and monitor whether or not the training program worked or is working, right? So again, to reiterate, if you want to just learn if the salesperson or the employee liked it, if it was enjoyable, do that through a survey or maybe just a quick interview. If you want to measure if they learned something, do that through a quiz, an exam, or some sort of a test, right? A knowledge-based test. If you want to learn if their behaviors have changed, measure that through observation and just watch them. If you want to measure whether or not a business metric has lifted and changed, measure that through a business report or a P&L or some sort of a scorecard review. So those are the 4 ways to evaluate whether or not a training program is working and working well for you. So anyway, as a former corporate trainer for decades, I love training, but I recognize training needs to be held accountable to certain things. And you and I as managers, we've got to hold training programs accountable for certain things. We can't just willy-nilly jump into a training program and hope it works. We got to take a little bit more of a scientific and analytical approach to it. Otherwise, we're wasting money. We're wasting money. The worst thing in the world is being paid. I've personally made hundreds of thousands of dollars from companies who've paid me to be an amazing trainer and to train on incredible stuff, not to have it work. No worse feeling on the planet. And I know those managers really appreciated my efforts. They really appreciated it. And they're grateful for it. But they were also frustrated that they didn't see the business metrics lift. And again, that's a topic for another day of what should have been done or what could have been done differently. Training is not the end-all be-all solution to all business problems. And if you think it is, you're terribly wrong. You'll waste a lot of time and a lot of money on a very expensive training program and get 0 results out of it if you're not careful. So if you want to make sure to not spend tens of thousands of dollars on a really amazing training program and get 0 return on your investment on it, would you come talk to me? Please? Would you come to Arcane Marketing? Call us on the phone and say, we want to do a training program, but we don't want to waste tens of thousands of dollars on it. Let's chat. Let's do that up front to make sure that that doing a training program plus incorporating a couple of other things at the same time in conjunction will ensure that you're going to get amazing return on investment. So pinky promise, before you jump into your next training program, let's chat to make sure you get your good return on investment. Deal? Pinky promise? All right, we pinky promised. We're good. Hey, love you guys. Care about you. I want you to kill it in your business. I know you're hustling. I know you're blazing new trails. I know you're connecting with all the important people out there, and you're doing a fine job. We want to partner with you. We want to work with you. We want to support you. We want to see you be successful. So give us a call here at Arcane Marketing. See what we can do to help you in all sorts of different fronts. But anyway, it's Tuesday. It's a gloomy, rainy day outside, and excited for all the April showers that are going to bring all the May flowers to us here soon. So excited about that. Keep up the great work. Have a great rest of your day. And I can't wait to be back with you once again on Traveling with Terry. Take good care, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for watching. Did you know every company out there has what we call digital marketing blind spots? These are simple, hidden opportunities for growing and improving your marketing that most of the time people miss. Go to www.arcanemarketing.com and take advantage of our Rise and Ignite digital marketing analysis. It's 100% free to get fresh new insights and ideas to make what you're already doing that much better in 2021.